All right. Welcome back, class. Today, I want to get into a great psychologist's work that we should know about. He hasn't talked about enough. A brother by the name of Dr. Edwin Nichols, PhD. And what he's famous for is he would go around to different Fortune 500 companies and just help with culture. So to understand why Black people think this way, why white employees think this way, why Asian employees think this way. And he kind of helped it all mesh together. But what he came up with something called the philosophical aspects of cultural differences. And the philosophical aspects of cultural differences is saying that none of us are really genetically inclined to do this or that for the most part. There is a thing with, Black people being faster, jump higher, better at sports. Maybe the Northern Europeans are really good at strength training. So there is some DNA stuff there, but most of this is culture, believe it or not. I know we like to call people types of names, but most of it is culture. Some of it is environment, which culture does come from environment. But let's pull up the three main classes. And I do believe there's more types of human beings to this, but basically Western thought breaks it down to Asians, Africans, and Europeans, black, white, and yellows, which is crazy. But let's get into this. The Oriental value. Let's start with them first. What do the Asians value within their culture? The highest value lies in the cohesiveness of the group. Group status, the cohesiveness of the group, harmony of the universe, family unity, and respect for authority. Those are all the major tenets of Asian culture. There's a lot more, but that's what they highly value the most. So let me get into that. If you ever notice, Asians are very tight-knit. They're always tight-knit communities, and you can't just do what you want in Asian society. You can't just date any type of guy. You can't date any type of woman. You can't dress any type of way. You're kind of outcast and pushed out when you do that. It's kind of changing now, but Asians value the group. You can't be this rugged individual like Americans are. You have to be part of the group. So when something's going wrong and somebody's doing something, they'll all gang up on them and be like, hey, that's not Chinese. Hey, that's not Chinese. You can't do that. You can't do this. That's not Chinese. And that's why they built an empire so fast, because they work on a group status, that they're all going to come together. It's not just about one person getting rich and, just a bunch of people over here getting rich. I mean, there is that thing like anywhere else, but the thing is, it's about China. It's not about the original, just one person. It's about China. It's not just about the king. It's about Japan, and Japan should rise again. And the greatest factor in this is the cohesiveness of the group. How well is the group working together? How good are they doing this? It's always the cohesiveness as a group. Is everything running together? Is everyone on time? We're doing this. Is the machine running? So even before machines and factories, they were already moving like a group and like a factory, which makes them so good at creating factories and creating all types of objects and stuff. In their spirituality, there is that, and it's a harmony of the universe. So even within the universe, it isn't just God. It's many different parts of the universe working together to be one large thing. And this is the harmony of the universe, all parts moving together just as one, just like their group. Now, the family unit is a smaller piece of the group, and that's where you get into the smallest piece that, that, you can't do this, you can't do that, because my family will go against it. And there's a respect for authority, where in the West, it's kind of go against authority, be independent. In the East, you don't go against the government, not just for nothing. It's always, those are authority, this is the way it is, and they are over us, and this is the way the machine runs. And that's why they're kicking ass, and they're gonna lead the future, in my opinion. But that is just Asian culture. Now, African culture shares a bit of Asian culture, but the highest value lies in the relationship. Where the Asians are always worried about the group making their countries look great, making their people look great. This is more of like an independent relationship within African society. And this is both our strength and our weakness, in my opinion. So the highest value lies in the relationship. The the local ecosystem, there is a class hierarchy like everywhere else. It's a bit more detailed in African societies. The hierarchy, family is very important. Now, where we differ in other groups at is religion is just, we are the most obsessive people when it comes to religion. And the spiritual world is just thing where others are focused on the objects that they can get in this world and what they're doing. We're very focused on the spiritual world. This is how ancient Egyptian society was. It was always about the spiritual world, the spiritual world. I'm making this great, all this stuff for the afterlife. We are people since the beginning of time who are focused with the spiritual world and the afterlife and other external factors rather than what we can physically see. Now, is that good or is that bad? You know, we could get to that in a minute. And then lastly, the elders. Like Asian culture, elders are very much respected, but it's to a point. This could work in our favor, but a lot of this has worked against us. So if you have somebody coming to your shores talking about, I'm a missionary and I'm here on behalf of God, automatically someone who's very focused on religion and the spiritual world, your guard's going to drop. So that's one weak point. Elders. It is good that elders should be respected because they should be wise, but unfortunately, a lot of our elders are co-opted. A lot of our elders went through colonialism and grew up in apartheid and Jim Crow, and they can't really function. A lot of our enemies, they put yes boys in here. You see these African leaders walking hand in hand with some young French leader holding his hand or opening the car door for the president. It's just like, y'all act like children. And these are our elders, 60, 70, 80. So how could you obey them? And they some flat out coons. So this is a weakness with the Africans, black people, what we value. But that thing to our relationship. All right. So when I lived in Africa, I kept noticing stuff that people would always talk to me about. Oh, before these people came here, before the Europeans got here, there wasn't all this tribalism. Somebody would come through and they'd have their cows and we'd have them spend the night and then they could graze over there. And then a day or two, they go off and they leave. And now it's like, it's all tribalism and we don't even want that other tribe there. You can see people keep talking about this. They talk about what their grandmothers had their grandmothers tell them when they were children 100 years ago. This is going back and you could still hear that today. So whereas the relationship, we had to be very, respectful and customary, and when outsiders came in, the relationship was the highest value. And that is good until outsiders take advantage of that. But another thing is the relationship is getting soured. So where we show to have a positive relationship with Africans, with black people, one to another, we've developed this opposite thing to where we only care about the relationship of being over it. Example, why does everyone go out and buy Jordans in America? Why do we have to have that new purse? Why we got to have some blonde, new, fresh weave? Why do we got to look so fresh beyond our means and show that? It isn't because we're trying to show white people how much money we have. Same thing in Africa. Your country looks terrible. It looks like shit, but you drive a Rolls Royce up to the presidential or your government mansion or whatever you stolen, and you live in a big mansion, but everybody's outside with dirt roads and people are begging in the street. It's not every country, it's certain countries. Some countries in Africa are doing well, but I'm talking about the really bad ones. Why are they like that? In both these instances, it's the relationship. It's because we're not seeking to show how great we are against other people, white people, Arabs, Orientals, anybody else. Our only goal as black people, Africans, whatever you want to say it is, I want to be fresher than the next ninja. My whole goal is I look better than him. It's just a crab in the barrel mentality because the crab's only worried about the other crabs. Instead of pulling each other up and working together, as long as I look better than that next ninja, as long as I got more money than him, that's why you broke. That's why you're stupid and you ain't got no education. These are things black people in America and Africans in Africa say to one another. And I started to hear the same thing over. Our only goal in life is the relationship between each other and shitting on the next ninja. As long as I look better than him, as long as I'm looking better than her, then it don't matter. that all the people around me are broke, or that my neighborhood's dangerous, so many people are uneducated, that we're just not doing well, as long as my shit's straight. So that relationship thing got turned around. And that's a bad thing. That's a bad thing, because it keeps us stagnant and only worried about stupid foolishness. And we got to be honest about that. We got to turn this around to where our relationships is for one another. Because back in the day, we all heard about it. When you was walking, you respected each other. You always said hello to your elders. We wasn't like any other people. Like Black Americans, we were supposed to have that respect. You hear the same thing in Africa. You're supposed to treat people respectfully all the time. Give money to everybody, to the poor. You're supposed to make sure nobody went hungry. This is the way it used to be. And now it's the hell with them. It's me and myself and my family at most. So that's one of our issues that we have, but you should know that. This is why we have a relationship culture. All right. Lastly, moving on over to the Europeans, quote unquote white folks. I wanted to get into this last because it's a little detailed more. So what is the highest value for the Europeans? The highest value lies in the object or the acquisition of the object. Now, this makes more sense as to where us as African people, we come from a plentiful region where you could just walk into the forest and pick something what you need. I mean, at worst, it becomes dry season, but you just have to walk through a little bit to find food, to hunt. In Europe, it is always 6 months out of the year, it is freaking winter and nothing grows. So if you don't work for that next 6 months, or you don't gain it some way, somehow, you are going to starve in the winter. A lot of animals go into hibernation. A lot of them leave when it gets cold, and they're not in the forest, so you can't hunt like that. Same thing with the fish. You can't fish. And then other people in the society will run it down even more. So the weather has promoted this culture where we have to get this object. We need food. We need clothing. We need water. We'll freeze and stuff. Where in Africa, that stuff is plentiful. So what do they focus on? Well, you either make the stuff and you grow your farming, or you hunt and you save it for the winter, or you go and steal somebody's and you take it and you kick them off their land or kill them. So what's the most important thing to make sure we can't starve? Because we can't just leave our supplies and go somewhere else and grow it again and hunt somewhere else, because there is nowhere else to go. So it becomes power. You got to be focused on the power. These objects will help you survive, but in order to keep the objects and not get it taken away by Vikings or whoever else, I have to have power. So power or the object becomes the most important thing. I got to have wealth. Wealth is power. I can protect my items. I need more stuff. We need all this stuff, more and more stuff, more and more stuff. That's where the Western capitalism mindset comes from. More and more items, more and more stuff. Now, also, the European, there's a confliction in him, because he's had a lot of, there's been a lot of war going on in his culture through the last 2,000 years, if not more. We'll get into that. It happens in other places, but not war like them. So there's this ideology of the hero, the knight, the Christian, the savior. And then there's also the conqueror, where in Eastern, everything revolves around the group. So you can't really run that thing on them that this isn't Christ-like, this isn't good. Although there is this other thing where we don't want the group to look bad. We don't want all Chinese to look bad, but it's not necessarily good or bad. It's what's best for the group. I don't care what you think. We're over here in the Western mindset. There is this hero thing where I have to be like Jesus, because they have that they are the good guys. But also at the other end of the spectrum, they say that they are conquerors. We conquered the Native Americans and took this land. They'll tell you straight to their face. They don't even give a damn. We conquered them. But at the same time, they want to be righteous. So there's a dichotomy there. How are you going to be the hero and the conqueror? You can't be these two things, and they work against each other. We're going to Iraq to spread freedom and then murder 1 million people. Like, it's not working. Now, there is also this thing of, there's a godlike complex within some white people. That's where this obsession with the African slave comes into. That's a whole nother video. It's a long one, but there's a godlike value within their culture that a lot of them have. That's why there's this obsession with dogs, and they feel like they're gods. There's a focus on logic rather than the spiritual world, where you do need spirituality, because that's where you have societies that are just empty internally, and it's just like nothing's being created of any value, and it's just a dead society where no one wants to really live at. They rather go on vacations to other places. But you do need logic. So they focus on logic. Hey, I can't see God, so why should I believe in God? To where you go to most Africans and you'd be like, you tell somebody there is no God, they're like, how could you? We're focused on the spiritual world. They're focused on the logical, that which you could see. And order is something that they do focus on. I'll give them that as well. Society should be orderly like the Asians, and everything should be in line. Because this is a power thing. It's like a wolf pack. You're connected. So there can't be no weak wolves in the wolf pack. So it has to stay orderly and that. So just a few things to think on when you're looking at different people. Know how we are. Know the different cultures of people, why they are the way they are. It's most likely where they're from. And then over the past thousands of years, that's how they came to be. Another thing we have to look at, we look at that historical aspects of different cultures. Let me pull up here a map of all the wars on planet Earth since 2500 BC. Okay, everywhere dark red is 1900s, mid 1900s to late 1900s, early 2000s. Orange will be back to about 1900. And then when you get the orangish yellow, all the way back to yellow, that's all the way back to 2500 BC. Look at this. We cannot even fathom the amount of wars that Europeans have had. It's something about that. Breeding. Tragedy brings excellence. We can't lie about it. You ask, like, why are Black Americans the way they are from the positive note, and why we excel at sports and entertainment? It's because anybody who was weak got murdered. Even throughout the Caribbean, it's always going to be us in the Olympics, always. That war and that strife breeds excellence. It also breeds a lot of trauma. Something that needs healed. That's another video as well. But look at this. Most of the wars in Africa are in the late 1900s or in the 1900s. We have ancient wars. We could trace them all the way back to Kush and Ethiopia, all the way down. We have some, but it's nothing like Europe. It's bad in the Middle East too, but there ain't nothing like Europe, bruh. If you want to take anything from this video, take this. What is the first thing that you got to know about white people? They're evil. They smell like dogs. Yada, yada, yada. No. Give them the respect. The first thing about white people is you are fucking with a warrior race. They are warriors first. Now they're a warrior race to a fault, because they've never won 100 years, 150 years without a major battle, being over 20,000 people getting killed. We can go a few centuries in Africa, if not more, where through war 20, 30,000 people aren't dying. That's a normal thing. That's a normal thing every 50 years for a couple thousand people to die in Europe. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50,000 people died under the sword. You look over at Japan as well. There's a lot of wars over there too. Some about a lot of war, and in China as well. Some about a lot of war, it brings excellence. So some about us over here in America, we've been through a lot in America and the Caribbean. And that tragedy does bring excellence. So there is a lot we can accomplish. But if you're looking at this map, dude, we can see what the problem is on Earth. All right, y'all. Y'all hit the cash up. Y'all stay up. I got more coming soon.